The stars were silent witnesses to the Pathfinder's slow approach. Captain Tom Reed stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back, watching as the strange object grew larger on the main screen. "Any response to our hails?" he asked, his voice cutting through the tense quiet. "None, sir," replied the communications officer. "It's completely silent." Tom nodded, trying to hide his excitement. After 15 years of routine survey missions, they had finally found something truly remarkable. The object, clearly artificial, drifted in the darkness of the outer Vega system, far from any known space lanes or settlements. "Science Officer Gray, your assessment." Tom turned to Lisa, who was hunched over her station, analyzing the incoming data. Lisa looked up from her screen, her forehead creased with concern. "It's definitely a ship, Captain. And according to these readings, it's old. Very old." "How old are we talking about?" "Preliminary scans suggest at least 50,000 years, sir." A murmur ran through the bridge crew. The oldest known spacefaring civilization besides humanity. The Taurians had achieved space travel barely 3,000 years ago. "Are you certain?" Tom asked, his voice now hushed with awe. "The dating is consistent across multiple scanning methods," Lisa confirmed. "Captain, I would advise caution. We know nothing about." "Prepare a boarding team," Tom interrupted, unable to contain his eagerness. "I want First Officer Wilson leading the expedition." Lisa stood up. "Sir, with all due respect, we should follow first contact protocols and—" "This isn't first contact, Officer Gray," Tom said with a smile. "There's clearly no one home." He turned to his XO. "Mark, get suited up." Mark Wilson nodded, his weathered face betraying neither excitement nor concern. "Yes, sir. Team will be ready in 20 minutes." The boarding shuttle approached the ancient vessel with slow, deliberate movements. From this close, the true scale of the ship became apparent. It was enormous, nearly twice the size of the largest Earth battleships. "Command, this is Wilson." Mark's voice crackled through the comm system. "We're approaching the hull now. There appears to be some kind of airlock or entry point on the starboard side." On the Pathfinder's bridge, Tom leaned forward in his chair. "Proceed with caution, XO." Inside their sealed suits, Mark and his team of 5 approached the dark opening in the alien ship's hull. Their helmet lights cast long shadows that seemed to stretch into endless darkness. "The door appears partially open," Mark reported. "We're going to try to enter." With surprising ease, the team pushed through the half-open doorway and entered what appeared to be an airlock chamber. The walls were made of a dark material that absorbed their light rather than reflecting it. "Atmosphere readings?" Lisa asked from her station on the Pathfinder. "None," responded one of the team members. "Complete vacuum. Temperature is just above absolute zero." As the team moved deeper into the ship, they found more chambers and corridors, all as empty and silent as the first. The architecture was strange. Doorways placed at odd heights, corridors that curved when they should have been straight, rooms that seemed to have no clear purpose. "This design makes no sense," Mark said as they entered what might have been a control room. "It's like whoever built this had a completely different idea of how to use space. Or they weren't human-shaped," added a team member. Tom's voice came through their comms. "Any sign of technology? Engines? Weapons?" "Nothing obvious, Captain," Mark replied, running his gloved hand over a smooth surface that might have been a console. "Everything seems integrated. There are no buttons or screens like we use, just these strange crystal-like structures embedded in the walls." Lisa, who had been quiet for some time, finally spoke. "XO, can you capture detailed images of those crystals?" "Doing it now," Mark confirmed, directing one of his team to take high-resolution scans. After 2 hours of exploration, the team had covered less than 5% of the massive vessel. They had found no bodies, no personal items, no logs or records, nothing to indicate who had built the ship or why they had abandoned it. "I think we've seen enough for an initial assessment," Mark finally said. We should return to the Pathfinder and analyze what we found. Back on the survey ship, Tom convened a meeting with his senior officers. The images from the boarding team played on the screen as they talked. "So what are we looking at?" Tom asked, unable to hide his disappointment at the lack of dramatic discoveries. "A failed experiment. A ghost ship." Lisa pulled up several analytical displays. "Whatever it is, Captain, it predates every known spacefaring race by tens of thousands of years. That alone makes it the most significant archaeological find in human history." "But it's just empty," Tom said, frowning at the images. "What happened to the crew?" "Maybe there never was one," suggested Mark. "Some of those corridors were barely large enough for us to squeeze through. Others were so large you could drive a rover through them. It's like it wasn't built for any single type of being." Tom drummed his fingers on the table. "Recommendations. We should notify Earth immediately," Lisa said firmly. "This discovery is too important to handle alone. We need experts, proper equipment, and give up the credit." Tom interrupted. "If we call for help now, they'll send a science vessel to take over. This is our find." "With all due respect, sir," Lisa countered, "this isn't about credit. We're dealing with unknown technology from an advanced civilization. We need to be careful." Tom considered this for a moment, then nodded reluctantly. "Fine. Send a report to Earth Command, but request that we remain as the primary investigation team." He stood up. "In the meantime, I want that ship secured. We're going to tow it back to Outpost 7 for further study." "Tow it?" Mark looked surprised. "Sir, that thing is massive. It would take significant resources to." "Make it happen, XO," Tom said firmly. "This is the discovery of a lifetime. I'm not letting it float away." 3 days later, the Pathfinder had secured tow cables to the ancient vessel and begun the slow journey to Outpost 7. Tom spent hours each day watching the ship on the monitors, fascinated by its alien design. "Message from Earth Command, Captain," called the communications officer. "Priority 1. Tom walked over to the comm station and read the incoming transmission. His face broke into a wide smile. "They've approved our request," he announced to the bridge crew. "We're to deliver the vessel to Outpost 7 and oversee the preliminary investigation." He turned to Lisa. "Looks like you'll get your experts after all, Officer Gray." Lisa nodded, but her expression remained troubled. "I hope they arrive quickly." What nobody on the Pathfinder knew was that their transmissions had been intercepted. On the other side of the Vega system, a Taurian communications specialist was delivering a report to Admiral Ben Stone on the bridge of the massive warship Iron Stormblade. "Humans have found something old. Something powerful, perhaps," the specialist reported. Admiral Stone's reptilian eyes narrowed. "Set course for Outpost 7, he ordered. "If the humans have found a weapon, the hegemony must ensure it doesn't upset the balance of power." As the Iron Stormblade powered up its engines, the ancient ship being towed by the Pathfinder emitted a brief, almost imperceptible pulse of energy. Deep within its systems, something had begun to wake up. Outpost 7 buzzed with excitement. News of the ancient ship had spread quickly, and everyone wanted to see it. The huge derelict vessel now hung in space near the station, dwarfing even the largest military ships docked there. Dr. James Miller could barely contain himself as he prepared his team. After years of studying alien artifacts, this was the opportunity of a lifetime. "Remember, we touch nothing without proper scanning first," he told the group of 12 scientists gathered in the briefing room. "We have no idea what technology we're dealing with." Captain Tom Reed stood at the back of the room, arms crossed, watching the scientists with a mixture of pride and impatience. This was his discovery, after all. "When can you begin?" Tom asked when James finished his safety briefing. "We're ready now, Captain," James replied, adjusting his glasses, "just waiting for final approval from Station Command." Tom nodded. "You have it. I'll be joining your first team aboard." Lisa Gray, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "Captain, are you sure that's wise? We still don't know." I discovered it. Tom cut her off. I'm going to be part of studying it. Lisa fell silent, but the concern in her eyes was clear. An hour later, the first research team boarded the ancient ship. The station had pressurized several sections with breathable air, allowing the scientists to work without the bulky spacesuits. Dr. Miller moved carefully through the strange corridors, scanning each new area. These crystalline structures are throughout the entire ship, he said, examining a cluster of blue-white formations embedded in a wall. They seem to be connected to each other in some kind of network. Tom ran his hand along one of the crystals. Any idea what they do? Not yet, James replied. But they're not natural formations. Someone made these with great skill. As Tom touched the crystal, he felt a strange warmth spread through his fingers. He quickly pulled his hand away, but said nothing about it. The scientists spread throughout the accessible areas of the ship, setting up equipment and taking samples. In one large chamber that might have been a control room, James set up his main research station. "Look at this," he called to Tom, pointing to a complex pattern within one of the larger crystals. "It almost looks like circuitry, but far more advanced than anything we've ever built." Tom stared at the pattern, feeling a strange sense of familiarity. "Can you access any data within these crystals?" "We're trying," James said. "We've connected our computers to several of them, but so far, there's no response." Unknown to them, each scan and connection was sending tiny pulses of energy through the dormant systems of the ancient ship. Deep within its core, long silent mechanisms began to stir. That night, when most of the research team had returned to the station, Tom remained aboard. He told Lisa he wanted to make a personal inspection, but the truth was that he felt drawn to the ship in a way he couldn't explain. He wandered the corridors alone, touching the walls occasionally. The strange architecture no longer seemed so alien to him. He found himself knowing which way to turn at intersections, as if he'd walked these halls before. In a small chamber he hadn't visited earlier, Tom found a particularly large crystal formation. As he approached it, the air around him seemed to hum with energy. He reached out and placed both hands on the crystal's smooth surface. Images flashed through his mind. Stars, planets, beams of light, vast battles between forces he couldn't comprehend. He pulled his hands away, gasping. "What are you?" he whispered to the empty ship. That night, back in his quarters on the station, Tom dreamed. He saw the ancient ship not as it was now, dark and dormant, but alive with light and purpose. He saw it traveling between stars, watched over by beings who existed as patterns of energy rather than flesh and blood. He woke up sweating, the dream still vivid in his mind. Without thinking, he got dressed and made his way back to the docking bay, feeling an urgent need to return to the ship. Lisa noticed the change in Tom over the next few days. He spent more and more time aboard the ancient vessel and less time filing reports or attending briefings. When he did appear, he seemed distracted, his mind elsewhere. "Captain, are you feeling all right?" she asked him after a particularly unfocused meeting with Station Command. Tom blinked, focusing on her face with effort. "Never better," he said. "Why do you ask?" "You seem different ever since we found that ship." Tom smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "It's a big discovery, Lisa. I'm just excited about the possibilities." Lisa wasn't convinced, but before she could press further, an alarm sounded throughout the station. "All senior personnel to command center," came the announcement. Priority alert. In the command center, the station commander, Admiral Dan White, stood before a large display showing the movement of ships in the system. "We've detected a Taurian warship approaching," he announced grimly. "The Iron Stormblade." A murmur ran through the gathered officers. The Iron Stormblade was the pride of the Taurian fleet, a massive battleship that had never been defeated in combat. "What do they want?" someone asked. "They say they're here to inspect a potential weapon of mass destruction," Admiral White replied. "They're demanding access to the ancient ship." All eyes turned to Tom, who seemed strangely calm. "It's not a weapon," he said quietly. "How can you be sure?" Admiral White asked. Tom opened his mouth to respond, then closed it, unsure how to explain what he somehow knew. Regardless, the Admiral continued, "I've denied their request. We have no obligation to allow them access to our research. But they're not backing down. They'll be within weapons range in 36 hours. Back aboard the ancient ship, Dr. Miller's team made a breakthrough. One of the computer systems they'd connected to a crystal cluster was displaying unusual readings. Power fluctuations, a scientist reported. Very small, but definitely there. It's testing our system." James leaned in, excited. "Are we getting any data transfer?" "Nothing we can read yet. But—" The scientist stopped as the lights in the chamber flickered briefly. James looked up at the ceiling, then at the crystal. "Did anyone else feel that?" The team nodded, looking around nervously. "It's waking up," James whispered, a mixture of fear and excitement in his voice. Tom stood alone in what he now believed was the ship's bridge. He no longer needed lights to find his way around. He could feel the ship's layout in his mind, like a map etched into his thoughts. "I know you can hear me," he said to the empty air. "I know you're waking up." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint blue glow appeared in the crystals around him. A soft humming filled the air. Tom smiled. "Yes, that's it. Show me who you are." In his quarters on the station, Lisa reviewed the security footage from the ancient ship. She watched Tom wandering the corridors, talking to himself, touching the walls like they were old friends. Something was very wrong with her captain. She reached for the comm to report her concerns to Admiral White when another alarm blared. "All personnel, battle stations," came the urgent announcement. "Taurian warship has increased speed and is now on direct approach. Estimated time to weapons range, 12 hours. Aboard the ancient ship, Tom didn't hear the alarm. He stood in the glowing blue light of the awakening vessel, his eyes reflecting its strange radiance. Small machines, invisible to the naked eye, spread throughout the ship's systems, repairing damage and restoring functions that had lain dormant for millennia. "They're coming," Tom said softly. "But we'll be ready." Deep within the ship, a powerful engine began to hum for the first time in 50,000 years. The massive Taurian warship Iron Stormblade moved through space with deadly purpose. On its bridge, Admiral Benstone watched the approaching human outpost with cold eyes. "Time to weapons range?" he asked. 4 hours, Admiral," his second-in-command replied. Ben nodded, his scaled face showing no emotion. "Send another message to the humans. Tell them this is their final chance to allow our inspection team aboard that alien vessel." The Iron Stormblade was the pride of the Taurian fleet. Over half a mile long and armed with the most powerful weapons in known space, it had won dozens of battles without ever suffering serious damage. Its shields could withstand sustained fire from 3 battleships, and its main cannons could reduce a planet's surface to molten slag. No one challenged the Iron Stormblade, and lived to tell about it. On Outpost 7, Admiral Dan White read the new Taurian message with a grim face. "They're not backing down," he told his officers. "We have 4 hours to decide." "We can't let them take the ship," Lisa Gray argued. "This is a human discovery. We have every right to study it first." "I agree," Admiral White said. "But we don't have the firepower to stop the Iron Stormblade if they decide to take it by force." "Where's Captain Reed?" asked one of the officers. Lisa hesitated before answering. "He's still aboard the alien vessel. He's not responding to communications." Admiral White frowned. "What do you mean, not responding?" "Sir, I think there's something wrong with Captain Reed," Lisa said, choosing her words carefully. "He's been acting strangely ever since we found that ship. I believe he may be under some kind of influence." The Admiral looked troubled. "Dr. Miller is still aboard too, correct? Have him find Reed and bring him back to the station. Now." Aboard the ancient ship, James Miller and his team were witnessing something extraordinary. Throughout the vessel, the crystalline structures were now glowing with a soft blue light. Power readings were increasing by the minute. "It's like the whole ship is waking up," James said in wonder. "Look at these energy signatures. They're unlike anything I've ever seen." His comm unit crackled. "Dr. Miller, this is Admiral White. You need to find Captain Reed and return to the station immediately." "That's an order." James looked at his team with concern. "We need to find the captain. Split up and search the accessible sections." As the scientists dispersed, James made his way toward what they believed was the bridge. The ship felt different now. The corridors that had been dark and silent for days were now humming with energy. Some doors that had been locked shut were now open, revealing new chambers filled with strange technology. When James reached the bridge, he found Tom standing in the center, surrounded by glowing crystals. The captain's eyes were closed, and he seemed to be in some kind of trance. "Captain Reed." James approached cautiously. "Sir, we need to return to the station." Tom's eyes opened slowly. They looked normal, but somehow different. More focused, more aware. "I can't leave now, Doctor," Tom said calmly. "It's almost ready." "What's almost ready?" James asked, a chill running down his spine. Tom smiled. "This ship, it's been waiting for so long. Sleeping. Now it's awakening." "Sir, whatever is happening to you, we can help," James said, taking another step closer. "But we need to get back to the station. The Taurians are coming. The Iron Stormblade will be here in hours." "I know," Tom replied. "That's why you should all leave. Return to the station." "Not without you, Captain." Tom's expression hardened. "That's an order, Doctor. Get your team off this ship now." On the station, Lisa was growing increasingly worried. Dr. Miller had reported back about his encounter with Captain Reed, and it only confirmed her fears. "He's not himself," she told Admiral White. "Something on that ship has affected his mind." "All scientists are back on the station," an officer reported. "Captain Reed is the only one still aboard the alien vessel." Admiral White made a difficult decision. "Lock down all docking ports to that ship. No one goes in or out without my direct order." "Sir," another officer called out, "the Taurian ship is hailing us again." The Admiral nodded. "Put them through." The large screen in the command center lit up, showing Admiral Stone's reptilian face. "This is your final warning, humans," the Taurian said. "Allow our inspection team aboard that vessel, or we will take it by force." Admiral White stood tall. "That ship was discovered in human territory. We have every right to study it first. Your threats are a violation of the Peace Treaty of 2320. "That ship is clearly a weapon," Admiral Stone replied. "The hegemony will not allow such a weapon to remain solely in human hands." "It's not a weapon," Admiral White insisted. "It's an archaeological find." Admiral Stone's lips curled in what might have been a smile. "Then you won't mind if we fire a warning shot to show our resolve." Before Admiral White could respond, the Iron Stormblade fired a beam of energy that passed close to the station, deliberately missing but demonstrating the warship's power. The effect was immediate. Alarms blared throughout the station as sensors detected the weapon's firing. But something else happened too. Aboard the ancient ship, the crystals suddenly pulsed with bright light. Tom felt a surge of power flow through the vessel, like a sleeping giant taking its first deep breath. "They fired," he whispered. "They've awakened you fully." The ship's systems, dormant for 50,000 years, came fully online in an instant. Its hull, previously dull and scarred by time, began to glow with intricate patterns of light that spread like flowing water. On the station, everyone watched in shock as the ancient vessel transformed before their eyes. "What's happening?" Admiral White demanded. Lisa stared at the screens in disbelief. "It's activating. The ship is powering up." Admiral Stone watched the alien vessel with growing concern. What had been a dark, seemingly dead ship was now glowing with power. His tactical officer was suddenly shouting, "Energy spike! Massive energy spike from the alien vessel. Shields to maximum. Admiral Stone ordered. Target that ship and fire main cannons. The Iron Stormblade's legendary shields hummed to life, creating a barrier that had never been breached. Its main cannons, capable of destroying small moons, began to charge. But they were too slow. From the ancient ship, a single beam of pure white energy lanced out. It passed through the Iron Stormblade's shields as if they were not there and cut the massive warship in half with surgical precision. For a moment, the two halves of the ship hung in space, internal systems still functioning, crew members not yet comprehending what had happened. Then secondary explosions rippled through both sections as power cores destabilized. The pride of the Taurian fleet, the undefeated Iron Stormblade, erupted in a massive explosion that lit up the space around Outpost 7 like a new sun. The shock wave hit the station seconds later, damaging communication arrays and sensor systems. Emergency protocols activated as the station struggled to maintain stability. In the chaos, no one immediately noticed that the ancient ship was moving, pulling away from its docking clamps with ease. By the time the station's systems were back online, the vessel that had destroyed the most powerful warship in known space with a single shot was already accelerating away, its hull still pulsing with those strange patterns of light. And Captain Tom Reed was still aboard. Chaos reigned on Outpost 7. The destruction of the Iron Stormblade had sent shockwaves through both human and Taurian space. No one had ever seen a weapon capable of cutting through top-level shields like they were paper. Damage report, Admiral White demanded, his voice steady despite the crisis. Communications are partially restored, an officer reported, but long-range systems are still down. We can't contact Earth Command. Lisa Gray worked frantically at her station, trying to track the ancient ship's movement. It's heading toward the outer system. Sir. Moving at. This can't be right. What is it? The Admiral asked. According to these readings, it's traveling at 3 times the speed of our fastest ships, Lisa said in disbelief. And it's still accelerating. Admiral White's face was grim. That thing just destroyed the most powerful warship in known space with a single shot. Now it's loose, with one of our captains aboard, possibly under its control. He turned to his communications officer. Use the emergency quantum channel. Send a priority alert to all nearby Earth forces. We need every available ship here now. 3 days later, a battle group from Earth arrived at Outpost 7. The fleet, led by the heavy battleship Defender, consisted of 12 military vessels, the largest concentration of human firepower in the sector. Admiral Jane Foster, a veteran of 3 space campaigns, wasted no time. Within an hour of her arrival, she had assembled all senior officers in the station's command center. The situation is clear, she told them. An unknown vessel of immense power has destroyed a Taurian warship and flowed with one of our captains aboard. The Taurian hegemony is demanding explanations and threatening war. Earth Command has authorized me to recover or destroy this ship by any means necessary. Destroy it. Dr. Miller stood up in protest. Admiral, that ship is the most important archaeological find in human history. It's also the most dangerous weapon we've ever encountered. Admiral Foster replied coldly. A weapon that may now be controlled by a compromised officer. Lisa raised her hand. Admiral, with respect, we don't know that the ship is a weapon. Yes, it defended itself, but only after the Taurians fired first. Defended itself. Admiral Foster raised an eyebrow. You're talking about this ship as if it's alive, Officer Gray. I'm not sure it isn't, Lisa said quietly. The room fell silent. Explain, Admiral Foster demanded. Lisa and Dr. Miller exchanged glances. We've been reviewing all our research data, Lisa said. Based on what we found, we believe this isn't just a ship, it's something more. Dr. Miller stepped forward. The architecture that seems so strange to us wasn't inefficient. It was designed for beings that don't move or think like we do. The crystalline structures throughout the ship aren't just technology. They're a medium for a different form of intelligence. What are you saying, Doctor? Admiral Foster asked, her voice sharp. We believe the ship itself is alive, Miller said. Or rather, it's inhabited by a form of intelligence that exists as energy fields rather than matter. The physical ship is just a vessel, a body for something that doesn't naturally have physical form. And Captain Reed? Admiral White asked. Lisa's face showed her concern. We think he's been assimilated, in a way. The ship was studying us through him, learning about us. Admiral Foster shook her head in disbelief. This sounds like science fiction, not science. The readings don't lie, Admiral, Dr. Miller insisted. The energy patterns within that ship are consistent with neural activity, just on a scale and in a form we've never seen before. Before Admiral Foster could respond, an officer burst into the room. Admiral, we've located the alien vessel. It's in orbit around the fourth planet. Is it doing anything? Foster asked. No, Mom. It's just waiting. The battle group approached with extreme caution. The ancient ship hung in orbit around the barren fourth planet of the Vega system, its hull still glowing with those strange patterns of light. On the bridge of the Defender, Admiral Foster watched the tactical display with tense focus. All ships maintain distance. Weapons hot, but do not fire without my direct order. Admiral, the communications officer called. We're receiving a transmission from the alien vessel. Foster nodded. Put it on screen. The main display flickered, then showed an image that made everyone on the bridge gasp. It was Captain Tom Reed, or something that looked like him. His body appeared normal, but his movements were subtly wrong, too fluid and precise. His eyes glowed with the same blue light as the ship's crystals. Greetings, Admiral Foster, the thing that looked like Reed said, its voice a perfect imitation, but somehow empty of human inflection. I have been waiting for you. Foster stepped forward. Who am I speaking to? Are you Captain Reed? The Reed thing tilted its head in a way no human would. This body was Captain Reed. I am now using it to communicate with you in a form you can understand. I am a sentinel. A sentinel? Foster repeated. What does that mean? I was created by the architects to seek out and evaluate developing civilizations, the sentinel explained. I have been dormant for 50,000 years, waiting for a species advanced enough to reactivate my systems. Did you kill Captain Reed? Lisa asked, her voice breaking slightly. The sentinel Reed paused. His physical form remains functioning. His mind has been integrated with my systems. This was necessary for me to understand your species. Why did you attack the Taurian ship? Admiral Foster demanded. I did not attack. I defended. The vessel intended to destroy me before I could complete my evaluation. The sentinel Reed's face became completely expressionless. I have now completed that evaluation. Both humans and Taurians are aggressive, territorial species that have weaponized space travel and show patterns of expansion through conflict. A chill ran through everyone hearing those words. What does that mean for us? Admiral Foster asked carefully. The architects created the Sentinels to prevent the spread of warfare throughout the galaxy. The Sentinel Reed explained. Species that cannot control their aggressive tendencies must be contained for the safety of all. Contained. Foster's hand moved subtly toward her weapon. Yes, I have determined that both humans and Taurians must be restricted to their home systems until they evolve beyond their current patterns of behavior. Admiral Foster's face hardened. And if we refuse to be contained? In response, the Sentinel Reed simply raised a hand. On the tactical display, warning indicators flashed as all weapon systems on every ship in the battle group suddenly went offline. This is a demonstration, the Sentinel Reed said calmly. I could have disabled your life support systems just as easily. The bridge crew looked at their controls in panic. Every offensive capability had been neutralized with a gesture. Dr. Miller, who had been brought aboard the Defender as a consultant, stepped forward. You said you were created by the architects. Who were they? For the first time, The sentinel reed showed something like emotion, a faint sadness in its glowing eyes. They were the first to achieve interstellar travel in this galaxy. They saw the beauty of countless worlds and wished to preserve that beauty from the ravages of war. But they are gone now. Only their sentinels remain, carrying out their will across the stars. As the implications of this sank in, Lisa stared at the screen, focusing not on the sentinel's words but on something in Reed's eyes, a flicker of the real Tom, still there, still fighting against his assimilation. He's still in there, she whispered to herself. And he might be our only hope. We cannot accept these terms, Admiral Foster said firmly, facing the sentinel reed on the screen. Humanity will not be imprisoned in its home system. The sentinel reed showed no reaction. This is not a negotiation, Admiral. It is simply how things must be. The standoff had lasted for hours. The human battle group hung in space, weapons disabled but life support and engines still functioning. The ancient ship remained in orbit around the fourth planet, seemingly unbothered by the 12 warships facing it. What about the Taurians? Admiral White asked from his position beside Foster. Have you delivered this same message to them? I will, once our discussion is complete, the sentinel reed replied. All aggressive species must be contained. Foster turned to her officers. Cut the transmission, she ordered. Once the screen went dark, she faced her senior staff. Options. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Lisa stepped forward. I have an idea, but it's risky. At this point, Officer Gray, unopen to anything, Foster said grimly. Captain Reed is still in there, Lisa explained. I saw it in his eyes. If we could somehow reach him, communicate with him directly. How would we do that? Admiral White asked. That thing has control of his body. Dr. Miller, who had been quietly thinking, suddenly looked up. The crystals, he said, they're not just power sources or computer systems. They're a medium for consciousness. If we could link directly to their network. You mean go aboard that ship? Foster looked incredulous. How? It would never let us near it. Lisa and Miller exchanged glances. Not all of us, Lisa said, but maybe a small team. In a shuttle with no weapons. A team it might not consider a threat. Back on Outpost 7, Lisa, Dr. Miller, and 3 technicians worked frantically to modify a neural interface, a device normally used for remote piloting of mining drones. If I'm right, Miller explained as he connected delicate circuits, this should let us establish a direct link to the crystal network. In theory, we could then search for Captain Reed's consciousness within the system. And if you're wrong? Admiral White asked. Miller looked up, his face serious. Then we'll have handed the Sentinel 2 more human minds to study. 4 hours later, a small, unarmed shuttle left the Defender. Inside were Lisa, Dr. Miller, and 2 technical specialists. They had sent a message to the ancient ship requesting permission to approach for further discussion. Surprisingly, the Sentinel had agreed. It's curious, Lisa said as they approached the glowing vessel. That might be our only advantage. The shuttle docked at an airlock that opened as they approached. Inside, the ancient ship looked dramatically different from when they had first explored it. The corridors glowed with blue light, and the crystalline structures pulsed with energy. What had seemed like random architectural choices now appeared purposeful, a home designed for beings of pure energy. The Sentinel Reed was waiting for them in what they now understood was the ship's consciousness chamber, a large room filled with massive crystal formations. You wish to discuss your containment? It asked as they entered. We wish to understand. Dr. Miller replied carefully. Your architects, were they perfect beings? Did they never make mistakes? The Sentinel Reed paused. The architects were wise, but not perfect. They evolved as all species do. Then perhaps their directives could also evolve, Lisa suggested. Perhaps their understanding of what makes a species aggressive might not apply to us. As they kept the Sentinel engaged in philosophical debate, one of the technicians quietly set up the neural interface device. The plan was simple but desperate. Lisa would connect to the crystal network and try to find Tom Reed's consciousness, while the others kept the Sentinel distracted. "Your weapons destroyed a planet in your recent war with the Taurians," the Sentinel Reed pointed out. "How is this not aggression that must be contained?" Dr. Miller nodded sadly. "We have made terrible mistakes, but we learned from them. The war with the Taurians ended with a peace treaty, not extinction. Doesn't that count for something?" While they spoke, Lisa moved behind one of the larger crystal formations, out of the Sentinel Reed's direct line of sight. She placed the neural interface on her head and pressed it against the crystal's surface. Instantly, her mind was flooded with sensations and information, streams of data and consciousness flowing like rivers of light. It was overwhelming, beautiful, and terrifying all at once. "Tom," she called with her thoughts. "Tom Reed, where are you?" At first, there was nothing but the endless flow of alien consciousness. Then, faintly, she felt something familiar, a pattern that felt human, felt like Tom. "Lisa," the thought was weak but definitely his. "What are you doing here?" "We're trying to save you, and maybe everyone else too." Lisa focused on the connection, strengthening it. "Tom, what happened to you?" "I've seen everything, Lisa. The Sentinel's memories, the Architect's history. They weren't gods. They were just afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of becoming extinct. Of other species doing to them what they had done to others. The Sentinels weren't created to preserve peace. They were created to preserve the Architect's dominance." Through their connection, Tom showed her the truth. Memories from the Sentinel itself. The Architects had indeed been the first spacefaring race, but they had expanded through conquest, not exploration. The Sentinels were their enforcers, ensuring no other species could ever challenge them. But the Architects had eventually destroyed themselves in a civil war, leaving their Sentinels adrift with outdated directives and no masters to serve. "The Sentinel doesn't understand growth or change or redemption," Tom explained. "It only knows its programming, contain or destroy." "How do we stop it?" Lisa asked. "We have to show it another way. I've been trying, but I can't do it alone." In the physical world, the Sentinel Reed had noticed something was wrong. It turned toward Lisa, its glowing eyes narrowing. "What are you doing?" it demanded, moving toward her. Dr. Miller stepped in its path. "The same thing you did to Captain Reed. We're communicating directly." "This is not permitted," the Sentinel Reed said, its voice hardening. It raised a hand, energy gathering around its fingers. "Wait," Dr. Miller pleaded. "You said you were created to prevent war, to preserve life. Would the Architects want you to destroy beings trying to understand you?" The Sentinel Reed hesitated. Through the neural link, Lisa and Tom combined their consciousness and reached deeper into the Sentinel's systems. Together, they found its core programming, ancient and rigid, but not unchangeable. Here, Tom guided her. "These are the foundational directives. They were written by beings of flesh and blood, not gods. They can be rewritten." Using the neural interface as a conduit, they began to modify the Sentinel's programming, not erasing its purpose but expanding it. Instead of just containing aggressive species, it could guide them. Instead of judging based only on past actions, it could evaluate potential for change. In the physical world, the Sentinel Reed froze in place, its glowing eyes flickering as its core directives were rewritten. The ship around them hummed and vibrated. Lights flashed from blue to white and back again as the ancient intelligence fought against the changes. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. The Sentinel Reed collapsed to the floor, motionless. The ship's lights dimmed momentarily before slowly brightening again with a softer, gentler glow. Lisa disconnected from the crystal, her head pounding with the strain. "Tom," she called out, looking at the fallen body. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then Captain Reed gasped and sat up, his eyes normal again, human and confused. "Lisa," he said weakly, "what happened?" "I had the strangest dream." Before she could answer, the crystals around them pulsed with light. A voice filled the chamber, not coming from Reed's body this time, but from the ship itself. "I see now," the Sentinel's voice said, softer and somehow more alive than before. "The architects were wrong. Control is not the answer. Understanding is." Tom struggled to his feet with Lisa's help. "The Sentinel and we're separate now. But it learned from me. From all of us." Dr. Miller stepped forward cautiously. "What happens now?" The light in the crystals shifted to a warm golden hue. "I will not contain your species," the Sentinel said. "Instead, I will offer what the architects should have offered: knowledge, guidance, the history of 1,000,000 worlds. Not as masters, but as teachers." Admiral Foster, who had been listening through the shuttle's communication link, spoke up. "And we should trust you after what you did." "Trust must be earned," the Sentinel acknowledged. "I will begin by sharing technology that will help both humans and Taurians overcome the resource shortages that drag your conflicts. The rest will be your choice." 1 month later, representatives from Earth and the Taurian hegemony met aboard the ancient ship, now known as the Teacher, for the first truly equal peace talks in their history, and the ship that no one had feared, until it obliterated the mighty Iron Stormblade, became not a weapon of war, but a beacon of understanding in a universe that desperately needed one. The Nemesis glided silently through the darkness of space. Its black hull absorbed the distant starlight, making it almost invisible against the void. Captain James Reed stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. "Status report," he said, his voice calm but firm. Lieutenant Emma Walker looked up from her station. "All systems normal, Captain. We're at the edge of human space now. Crimson Empire territory begins about 500,000 kilometers ahead." Reed nodded. The Nemesis was Earth's newest and most advanced warship. With its experimental technology and weapons, it was humanity's best defense against the 2 alien empires that had been eyeing Earth's colonies for decades. "Keep us on current course, Lieutenant." Standard patrol pattern. Chief Engineer Marcus Stone entered the bridge, data pad in hand. The short, stocky man had dark circles under his eyes. He had been working non-stop on the ship's new phase shift drive. "Captain, I finished the diagnostic on the phase drive. It's stable, but I still don't recommend using it except in emergencies. The testing back at Earth wasn't complete." Reed turned to face him. "Let's hope we won't need it, Chief." The calm of routine patrol was suddenly broken by an alert from the sensor station. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual energy readings from the neutral zone," called the sensor officer. "It's like nothing I've seen before." Reed moved quickly to look at the readings. "Magnify that sector." The screen shifted to show a distant area of space where the territories of the Crimson and Nova empires met human space. Strange energy patterns pulsed across the screen. "Those aren't normal ship signatures," Emma said, frowning at her display. "Whatever's out there, it's big." Reed made a quick decision. "Change course. Take us closer, but keep us out of detection range. I want to know what's happening in that sector." The Nemesis altered its path, moving silently toward the mysterious energy readings. As they drew closer, the crew grew tense. The 2 alien empires had been bitter enemies for centuries. Their ships never operated in the same space unless they were fighting each other. After 3 hours of careful approach, the truth became clear. "I don't believe it," Emma whispered as the images came into focus on the main screen. There, gathered in what should have been empty space, was the largest collection of alien warships anyone had ever seen. Crimson Empire vessels, with their distinctive red hulls and spiked designs, floated alongside the smooth silver ships of the Nova Empire. "They're working together," Reed said, his face grim. "Get me closer visuals of those ships." The screen zoomed in to show alien crews moving between vessels, transferring equipment, and coordinating their efforts. Tom Parker, the intelligence officer, ran a quick analysis. "Sir, based on the number and types of ships, this is an invasion force, and it's not aimed at each other. It's aimed at us, Reed finished. They've formed an alliance against Earth. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. We need to alert Earth Command immediately, Reed ordered. Prepare a full data package of everything we're seeing. Lieutenant Walker, plot the fastest course back to Earth space. Course plotted, sir, Emma replied after a moment. Execute. The Nemesis turned and accelerated away from the alien fleet. For 30 minutes, it seemed they would make a clean escape. Then the alarm sounded. Multiple ships approaching from Sector 9. Emma called out. Crimson Empire destroyers, 6 of them. Reed gripped the arms of his command chair. They've spotted us. Maximum speed. The Nemesis surged forward, its engines pushing to their limits. But the Crimson ships were gaining. They're charging weapons, Emma reported. The first energy blast flashed past the ship's port side. The second struck the aft shields. Shields at 80%. Stone called from the engineering station. Another hit like that, and we'll lose rear protection. Reed made the decision he had hoped to avoid. Chief, prepare the phase shift drive. Stone looked up in alarm. Captain, it's not fully tested. We don't know if. We don't have a choice. Do it. As the engineer hurried to prepare the experimental drive, more blasts hit the Nemesis. The ship shuddered with each impact. Shields at 40%. Communications array damage. Came the reports from around the bridge. Stone's voice came through the comm system. Phase drive ready, but I can only give you one jump, Captain. All crew, brace for phase shift. Reed ordered. Execute when ready, Chief. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the world around them seemed to blur. Stars stretched into lines, and a high-pitched whine filled the ship. Every crew member felt a strange sensation, as if their bodies were being pulled in all directions at once. When reality snapped back into focus, the enemy ships were gone. Status report. Reed called out, fighting a wave of nausea that the phase shift had caused. We've jumped approximately 2 light years, Emma reported, checking her instruments. No sign of pursuit. The brief celebration was cut short by Stone's voice. Captain, we have a problem. The communication system is completely fried. The phase shift overloaded the entire array. Can you fix it? Yes, but it will take days, maybe weeks with the parts we have on board. Reed moved to the center of the bridge, his face illuminated by the glow of the monitors. The situation was clear. They had discovered a massive threat to Earth, but couldn't warn anyone about it. Options, he asked his officers. Emma spoke first. We could try to reach the nearest human outpost for repairs. That would take too long, Parker countered. By then, the invasion could already be underway. Reed stood silent for a long moment, weighing his choices. The rules said he should return to Earth or the nearest base. But his instincts told him something else. If we can't warn Earth, he finally said, then we'll have to disrupt this invasion ourselves. The bridge crew looked at him in shock. Sir, Emma questioned, we're one ship against 2 empires. Reed's eyes hardened with resolve. One ship they don't expect. One ship with technology they've never seen before. He looked around at his crew. We can't match their numbers, but we can create chaos. We can buy Earth time. He moved to the tactical display and pointed at the map of enemy territory. Set course for the Crimson Empire's forward staging area. We're going to strike first. As the Nemesis turned and slipped into enemy territory, Reed knew he was breaking every rule in the book. But with Earth's survival at stake, he was willing to risk everything. One human warship against 2 vast alien empires. The odds were impossible. But sometimes, impossible odds were exactly what humans did best. 4 days had passed since the Nemesis entered Crimson Empire territory. The human warship moved through enemy space like a ghost, its stealth systems hiding it from alien sensors. Captain Reed stood before the tactical display, studying the glowing dots that represented enemy vessels. The largest cluster marked the main Crimson staging area, where ships gathered for the planned invasion of Earth. "Our scans are complete, Captain," said Lieutenant Parker, approaching with a datapad. "I've identified their primary fuel depot. It's supplying the entire invasion fleet." Reed nodded. "Show me." Parker brought up an image of a massive space station surrounded by fuel tankers. Crimson warships moved in and out, taking on supplies. "If we hit that, we could delay their operations for weeks," Reed said. Emma Walker joined them, her face serious. "Sir, I've been monitoring their communications. The Nova Empire has sent a delegation to coordinate the attack plans. Their High General Tark is meeting with Crimson Commander Vex today." "Perfect timing for us to introduce ourselves," Reed said with a grim smile. The bridge crew gathered around as Reed outlined his plan. It was dangerous, but if it worked, it would throw the enemy into confusion. "Questions?" Reed asked when he finished. Chief Engineer Stone raised his hand. "The phase drive is still unstable, Captain. We might get one more jump out of it, but I can't guarantee more than that." "We'll save it for an emergency," Reed replied. "For now, we go in with conventional drives and rely on our stealth." He turned to address the entire bridge. "I know what I'm asking of you goes against standard protocol. If anyone objects to this mission, speak now." The bridge remained silent. Every crew member understood the stakes. "Very well," Reed said. "Battle stations. We move in 1 hour." Commander Vex stood at the viewport of his command ship, watching as Nova Empire vessels docked at the Crimson staging area. His scaled skin gleamed under the red lights of the bridge. The alliance with the Nova Empire displeased him, but their combined might would crush the humans once and for all. "High General Tark has arrived, Commander," reported his aide. Vex turned as the Nova official entered the bridge. Unlike the reptilian Crimson species, the Nova were tall, pale beings with 4 arms and smooth, hairless heads. "General," Vex greeted coldly. "I trust your journey was uneventful." Tark's upper arms clasped in a formal greeting. "Commander Vex, my ship encountered no difficulties. Are the preparations proceeding as scheduled?" "Of course," Vex replied. "Our fuel reserves are at maximum capacity. The attack fleet will be ready to launch within 15 standard days." Tark moved to the tactical display. "The humans must not be given any warning. Their technology advances too quickly. If we wait another cycle, they may develop weapons that can challenge even our combined forces." Vex was about to respond when an alarm blared through the command ship. "What is happening?" he demanded. His tactical officer's voice shook with confusion. "Unknown vessel approaching the fuel depot. It's not responding to identification requests." "Show me." The screen switched to show a dark ship moving fast toward the depot. It fired a spread of missiles before any of the defense systems could respond. "All ships, intercept that vessel," Vex ordered. On the Nemesis, Captain Reed watched as their missiles streaked toward the fuel depot. "Direct hit," Emma called out. "Their defensive shields are failing." The missiles struck the depot's main tanks. The explosion started small, then grew as one fuel cell after another ignited. The blast wave expanded, engulfing nearby tankers and smaller vessels. "Secondary explosions all along the depot," Parker reported. "It's breaking apart." Reed gripped the arms of his command chair. "Bring us around for a second pass. Target their command and control systems." The Nemesis banked sharply, evading the first wave of enemy fighters scrambling to respond. Its main guns fired, striking a Crimson communications array. "Sir, multiple enemy vessels moving to intercept," Emma warned, including a Nova cruiser. Reed studied the tactical display. Dozens of enemy ships were now moving toward them from all directions. "Continue attack run, then prepare to withdraw on my mark," he ordered calmly. The Nemesis shuddered as enemy fire started to connect with its shields. "Shields at 85%, reported the tactical officer. The human warship fired again, its energy weapons slicing through a Crimson destroyer that had moved to block their path. More explosions at the fuel depot, Parker called out. "Sir, I'm picking up a chain reaction. The whole station is going critical." Reed watched as the depot began to break apart, massive explosions rippling across its structure. Nearby ships were caught in the blasts, their hulls cracking open from the heat and pressure. "All weapons, target that Nova cruiser," Reed ordered. Then full reverse thrust. The Nemesis unleashed its full arsenal against the approaching Nova vessel. The alien ship's shields flared bright blue, then collapsed under the barrage. Explosions bloomed across its hull. "Now, get us out of here," Reed commanded. The Nemesis turned and accelerated away from the chaos it had created. Behind them, the fuel depot finally exploded completely, the blast taking out over a dozen warships that had been too close to escape. "Damage report," Vex demanded, picking himself up from the floor of his command center. The shockwave from the depot explosion had rocked even his vessel. "Fuel depot completely destroyed, Commander," his aide reported. 12 warships lost, 7 more heavily damaged. "And the attacking vessel?" "Escaped, Commander. But we have sensor readings. It appears to be human." Vex's yellow eyes narrowed to slits. "A single human ship dared to attack us here. Identify it." His tactical officer worked frantically at the console. "Based on the profile, it matches no known human vessel class. It must be new, experimental." High General Tark approached, 2 of his 4 arms now in medical bindings from injuries sustained in the attack. "This is unacceptable, Commander Vex," the Nova General hissed. "You assured me this staging area was secure." "The humans could not have known about our alliance," Vex snapped back. "Someone must have leaked information." Tark's pale face flushed blue with anger. "Are you suggesting Nova forces betrayed our plans?" "I am suggesting nothing," Vex replied coldly. "But I will find this human ship and destroy it." As the 2 alien leaders argued, neither noticed a small maintenance worker slipping away from the command center. Once alone, the worker pulled out a hidden communicator. "This is Lieutenant Tom Parker," he whispered into the device. "Infiltration successful. The attack worked better than expected. Commander Vex is taking personal command of the pursuit. The Nova General is furious. They're already blaming each other for security failures." Miles away, safely hidden in an asteroid field, Captain Reed received the transmission and smiled. Their intelligence officer's infiltration had been a risky move, but now they had eyes and ears inside the enemy command. "Well done, Lieutenant," Reed replied. "Stay safe and keep reporting. We're just getting started." On the bridge of the Nemesis, Reed turned to his crew. "First blood is ours. Now let's make them chase ghosts while we plan our next strike." The human warship powered down its systems to minimum levels, becoming nearly invisible among the asteroids. One battle won, but the war against 2 empires had only just begun. 2 weeks after the fuel depot attack, the Nemesis drifted silently at the edge of a remote star system. The ship had hidden from pursuing Crimson forces while making repairs and planning its next move. On the bridge, Dr. Laura Miller hunched over her workstation. The science officer had barely slept in days, her short blonde hair disheveled as she focused on the problem Captain Reed had given her. "Any progress, Doctor?" Reed asked, bringing her a cup of coffee. Laura looked up with tired eyes but smiled. "I think I've got it, Captain. Look at this." She pulled up a display showing energy patterns. "Every ship has a unique energy signature. It's like a fingerprint. We can modify our ship's output to mimic Crimson vessels." Reed studied the display. "You mean we can disguise ourselves as a Crimson ship?" "Exactly. Their allies would see us as friendly until it's too late." Reed's eyes lit up with understanding. A plan began to form in his mind. A plan that could turn 2 allies against each other. "How soon can you have it ready?" he asked. "Give me 12 hours, Laura replied. Reed nodded and called a meeting of his senior officers. Emma Walker, Marcus Stone, and Sergeant Mike Davis, the leader of the ship's Marine unit, gathered around the tactical table. "Dr. Miller has found a way to disguise our energy signature," Reed explained. We're going to hit Nova targets while appearing to be Crimson ships. Mike Davis, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a scared face, leaned forward. Sir, if we're attacking Nova bases, I'd like to lead a boarding party. We could gather intelligence and plant false evidence pointing to Crimson involvement. Risky, but I like it, Reed said. Chief Stone, what's our status? The engineer rubbed his beard. Engines at 92%. Weapons fully operational. Shields at 89%. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Reed turned to Emma. Lieutenant Walker, I need targets. Important Nova installations near the border. I've already identified 3 possibilities, Captain, Emma replied, bringing up a map. This outpost is their main communications relay for this sector. Taking it down would create confusion. Reed studied the map. That's our first target, and here's how we'll do it. Admiral Krell paced the command deck of Nova Outpost 7. The tall, 4-armed alien had never trusted the alliance with the Crimson Empire. For centuries, their species had been enemies. Old hatreds didn't die so easily. Status of the border patrols. He asked his communications officer. All units report normal activity, Admiral. No sign of the human vessel that attacked the Crimson fuel depot. Krell nodded. At least the humans were focusing their attacks on the Crimson forces. Let Vex deal with them. Suddenly, alarms blared across the command center. Admiral, vessel approaching at high speed, shouted his sensor operator. It's a Crimson heavy cruiser. What? Impossible. They're supposed to be our allies. Krell moved to the viewport. Hail them immediately. No response to communications, sir. They're powering weapons. Raise shields. Battle stations. The first shots struck before the Nova outpost could fully prepare. The attacking ship moved with unexpected speed and precision, targeting communications arrays and defense systems. Sir, our long-range communications are down. We can't contact the fleet. Krell's pale face darkened with anger. The Crimson betrayed us. I knew we couldn't trust them. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Reed watched as their disguised ship hammered the Nova outpost. Their shields are failing, Emma reported. Defense systems at 40% capacity. Reed nodded. Sergeant Davis, prepare your boarding team. You have 30 minutes on the ground. In the launch bay, Mike Davis and 6 Marines checked their weapons and equipment. They wore modified armor that resembled Crimson troops. Remember, Davis told his team, get in, plant the evidence, grab whatever intelligence you can, and get out. Make it look like the Crimson were searching for something specific. The boarding shuttle launched, speeding toward the damaged Nova outpost. Using the chaos of the attack as cover, they docked at a secondary airlock and cut their way inside. Move out, Davis ordered as they entered the alien structure. The Nova troops they encountered were quickly subdued with stun weapons. Davis led his team to the main data center, where they planted fabricated Crimson codes and command chips. They downloaded Nova battle plans and communication protocols before heading back to their shuttle. Boarding team returning, Davis reported over the comm. Mission accomplished. Reed acknowledged. Good work, Sergeant. We're timing this perfectly. As the shuttle docked with the Nemesis, the human warship fired one final volley at the Nova outpost power core. Not enough to destroy it, but enough to ensure the Nova would know they had been attacked. Energy signature shifting back to normal, Laura announced as they pulled away. They won't be able to track us through the shift. The Nemesis accelerated away from the crippled outpost, disappearing into the darkness of space before any Nova reinforcements could arrive. 2 days later, Nova Admiral Krell stood before High General Tark, his normally smooth face lined with fury. They attacked without warning. A Crimson heavy cruiser specifically targeted our communications and data centers. Tark's 4 hands clenched into fists. Commander Vex denies any knowledge of this attack. He claims all his ships are accounted for. Then he is lying. Krell slammed a data chip onto the table. We found this in our systems after the attack. Crimson access codes. They were searching for something. Tark studied the evidence. I will speak with Vex personally about this breach of trust. Meanwhile, the Nemesis was already preparing its next mission. Chief Engineer Stone had modified their energy signature again, this time to match Nova vessels. The Nova disguise is ready, Captain, Stone reported. But I don't recommend using these modifications too often. It puts a strain on our systems. Reed nodded. We'll hit one crimson target, then let them simmer for a while. Emma approached with a datapad. Sir, Lieutenant Parker's last transmission indicates the Crimson are scrambling to explain the attack to the Nova. Commander Vex is denying responsibility, but Admiral Krell isn't believing him. Perfect. Reed smiled. Now let's add fuel to the fire. Set course for Crimson Outpost Delta. This time, we're a Nova strike force with a grudge. Dr. Laura looked concerned. Captain, are we sure this is the right strategy? We're manipulating them into fighting each other. Reed's face grew serious. The alternative is letting them unite to destroy Earth. I'll take whatever moral burden this creates if it means saving our home. As the Nemesis prepared for its next deception, Reed knew they were walking a dangerous line. But against two vast empires, a single human warship had to use every advantage it could find, even if that meant becoming the phantom menace that turned allies into enemies. A month had passed since the Nemesis began its campaign of deception. The once solid alliance between the Crimson and Nova empires was now cracking at its foundation. After striking targets on both sides while disguised as the other, Captain Reed's strategy was working better than anyone had dared hope. The Nemesis now hovered near a dense nebula, using the cosmic gases to hide from enemy sensors. On the bridge, Reed studied reports from their spy, Lieutenant Parker, who remained embedded in the Crimson command structure. Captain, called Lieutenant Alex Foster, approaching with a datapad. I've successfully broken the new Crimson encryption. We now have access to all their secure communications. Reed nodded approvingly. Excellent work, Foster. What have you found? Alex, the ship's communications specialist, displayed a series of decoded messages. The young officer had a talent for cracking even the most complex enemy codes. Despite the growing tensions, they're still planning the invasion of Earth. Alex explained. They've moved the timetable up. The joint armada will launch in 2 weeks. Reed's face darkened. So we haven't done enough to stop them, just enough to make them nervous and rush their plans. He called his senior officers to the tactical room. As they gathered around the holographic display, Reed outlined what they had learned. Our efforts have created distrust, but not enough to break the alliance completely. Reed explained. We need something bigger, something that will turn their mistrust into open conflict. Emma studied the display showing the massive joint fleet gathering. Even with all our successes, we're still just one ship against hundreds. That's why we need to make those hundreds fight each other, Reed replied. Foster has located their joint command center. It's controlling the entire invasion fleet. He zoomed in on a large space station positioned at the edge of Crimson territory. Ships from both empires surrounded it, preparing for the assault on Earth. If we can infiltrate that command center and plant false orders in their systems, Reed began. We could make their own ships fire on each other. Emma finished, her eyes widening at the boldness of the plan. Chief Engineer Stone looked skeptical. That station will have the heaviest security in both empires. How do we get in? Reed turned to Sergeant Davis. That's where your Marines come in, Sergeant. The most dangerous mission yet. Davis nodded solemnly. My team is ready, sir. Just tell us what to do. On the Crimson flagship, Director Jax moved carefully through rows of data screens. Unlike Commander Vex, who saw only military solutions, Jax relied on intelligence and analysis. As head of Crimson Intelligence Operations, he had been studying the patterns of attacks over the past month. Show me the energy readings again, he instructed his assistant. The screen displayed sensor data from the various attacks. Crimson outposts hit by apparent Nova ships, and Nova bases struck by what seemed to be Crimson vessels. Jax's eyes narrowed as he studied the readings. There was something familiar about all these attacks, something that nagged at the edge of his mind. "Compare these to the readings from the human ship that attacked our fuel depot," he ordered. The computer overlaid the data. Though not identical, there were similarities in the patterns, similarities that might be missed if one wasn't specifically looking for them. "They're disguising their energy signature," Jax whispered. "It's been the humans all along." He rushed to report his findings to Commander Vex, but paused at the door to Vex's office. The commander was speaking with Council Member Wren, a high-ranking Nova political leader who had arrived to discuss the deteriorating relationship between their empires. "These accusations are unacceptable," Wren was saying, his four arms moving in agitation. "The Nova Empire has never violated our agreement. It is your ships that have attacked our outposts. And I tell you again, we have conducted no such attacks." Vex snarled back. "Perhaps your Admiral Krell is acting without your knowledge." Jax hesitated. His discovery could calm tensions between the empires, but it could also unite them again against Earth. He decided to gather more evidence before reporting his suspicions. Aboard the Nemesis, Reed finalized the details of their most daring mission yet. "The station's defenses are formidable," Emma explained to the team. "But we've identified a maintenance airlock with lighter security. If we approach using our Nova disguise, we can get close enough for the boarding team to enter." Reed turned to Sergeant Davis. "Once inside, you'll have 30 minutes to reach the central command systems and upload Foster's program." Davis nodded. "We'll get it done, sir." The plan was set in motion. The Nemesis, disguised as a Nova supply vessel, approached the Joint Command Station. It transmitted forged authorization codes that Foster had decrypted from earlier communications. "They're accepting our codes," Alex reported. "We're cleared to approach Docking Bay 7. Reed nodded. "Take us in slow. No suspicious movements." The human warship glided toward the massive station. When they were within 500 meters of the maintenance airlock, Davis and his team launched in a small shuttle. "Boarding team away," Davis reported. "Approaching target." The Marines docked at the airlock and cut their way inside. Moving through maintenance tunnels, they avoided the main corridors where Crimson and Nova personnel worked. "We're approaching the central computer core," Davis whispered over the comm. "Minimal resistance so far." Inside the computer core, Davis plugged in a device Foster had prepared. It contained false battle orders that would make Crimson and Nova ships target each other when the invasion fleet deployed. "Upload in progress," Davis reported. Estimated time to completion: 3 minutes. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Reed watched the operation unfold on a tactical display. "Standby weapons. If we're discovered, we'll need to create a distraction for the extraction." Suddenly, alarms blared across the command channel. "Security alert in computer core sector," came a Crimson voice over the comm. "Unauthorized access detected." "We've been spotted," Davis reported, the sound of weapons fire in the background. "Upload at 70%, 80%. Hold your position, Sergeant," Reed ordered. "Complete that upload." 90%. "Upload complete," Davis called. "We're falling back to extraction point now." Reed turned to Emma. "Target their external communications array. Fire." The Nemesis dropped its disguise and opened fire on the station. The sudden attack created chaos, giving Davis and his team the distraction they needed to fight their way back to their shuttle. "Boarding team is away," Emma reported as the shuttle launched from the station. "Get them on board and prepare for immediate departure," Reed ordered. As the shuttle docked with the Nemesis, ships from both empires began to respond to the attack. The human vessel fired one last volley at the station's power systems, then engaged its engines at maximum thrust. "Multiple enemy vessels in pursuit," Emma called out. "Both Crimson and Nova ships." "Activate the phase drive," Reed ordered. "Get us out of here." The Nemesis vanished in a blur of light, leaving confusion in its wake. Behind them, the uploaded program began its work, sending false orders throughout the invasion fleet. As the Nemesis emerged from phase space, safely away from the pursuit, Reed received the first reports of success. "Sir," Alex called out, monitoring enemy communications. "Crimson and Nova ships are firing on each other. The command system is sending conflicting orders, making each side think they're being betrayed." Reed watched the tactical display as dots representing enemy ships began to engage each other. A tight smile crossed his face. One human warship had just turned an invasion fleet against itself. "Now Earth has a fighting chance," he said quietly. "And we've finally been identified. Both empires now know exactly who's been causing them trouble." Emma looked worried. "That means they'll both be hunting us, specifically." Reed nodded. "Yes, but first, they'll have to stop fighting each other." On the main screen, the chaos continued to spread as the massive joint fleet dissolved into a tangle of Crimson and Nova ships firing on former allies. The invasion of Earth was no longer the priority. Survival had taken its place. 3 months had passed since the Nemesis had turned the invasion fleet against itself. The once mighty alliance between the Crimson and Nova empires had collapsed completely. Their ships now fought each other across dozens of star systems, their hatred for each other rekindled and burning hotter than ever. But victory had come at a cost. The Nemesis was now deep in enemy territory, low on supplies, and badly damaged from countless battles and narrow escapes. Captain Reed stood in the engine room, surveying the repairs with Chief Engineer Stone. "Tell me the truth, Chief," Reed said quietly, away from the ears of the crew. "How bad is it?" Stone wiped grease from his hands with a rag. "The main drive is operating at 60% at best. Life support is stable, but the weapons systems are down to basic functionality. And the phase drive," he shook his head, "it's completely burned out. No more jumping." Reed nodded grimly. "And our supplies? Food for another 2 months if we stretch it. Fuel for maybe 3 weeks at current usage." Reed placed a hand on the engineer's shoulder. "You've worked miracles keeping us running this long, Marcus." Both men knew what remained unspoken. The Nemesis was running out of time. Reed returned to the bridge, where Emma Walker was studying star charts. "Any word from Parker?" Reed asked. Emma shook her head. "Nothing since his last transmission 3 weeks ago. He may have been discovered or—" She didn't finish the sentence. Reed studied the charts. They were deep in enemy space, with both empires still searching for them despite their war with each other. The path home to Earth would take them through contested territories and past dozens of enemy outposts. "Captain," Emma said hesitantly, "the crew needs to know what's next. We've accomplished our mission. The invasion fleet is destroyed. Both empires are at war with each other instead of Earth. Maybe it's time to—" "To what, Lieutenant?" "Surrender. Die quietly in deep space. To try to get home," she finished. "The crew deserves that chance." Reed stared at the star map for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Sound General Quarters. All senior officers to the bridge." On Earth, in the headquarters of the Earth Defense Force, General Frank Cooper studied reports of the ongoing war between the Crimson and Nova empires. What had started as minor border skirmishes had erupted into full-scale war. Strangely, both empires had withdrawn forces from human space. "It doesn't make sense," Cooper said to Ambassador Hill, who had been trying to establish communication with both alien powers. "Why would they suddenly turn on each other when they were about to launch a joint attack?" Hill shook her head. "Neither side will talk to us. They both accuse us of deception and interference, but won't explain further." "Sir," a young officer burst into the room. "You need to see this." He placed a data pad on the table. It showed analysis of communications intercepts from both empires. "What am I looking at, Lieutenant?" Cooper asked. "Sir, both the Crimson and Nova empires keep referring to a single human ship that supposedly tricked them into fighting each other. They call it the Ghost Ship or the Phantom." Cooper frowned. "One ship? What ship could possibly—" Suddenly his eyes widened. "The Nemesis. "Sir," the officer asked, "Captain Reed and the Nemesis disappeared 3 months ago on a patrol near the border. They were declared lost with all hands." Cooper turned to his communications officer. "Get me Commander Taylor of the Sentinel. Immediately." On the bridge of the Nemesis, Reed addressed his senior officers, and through the ship's comm system, the entire crew. "We've accomplished what many would have thought impossible," he began. "A single ship against 2 vast empires. We've prevented the invasion of Earth and saved countless human lives." He paused, looking at the tired but proud faces around him. "But our mission isn't complete until we bring this ship and its crew home. The path won't be easy. We're damaged, low on supplies, and have a long journey through hostile territory. But I believe we can make it." Reed displayed the course he and Emma had plotted. "We'll skirt the edge of Nova territory, using the ongoing battles as cover. Then we'll make a run through this sector where fighting is heaviest, using the chaos to mask our signature." The crew listened intently as Reed outlined each step of the dangerous journey home. "Questions?" Reed asked when he finished. Dr. Laura Miller spoke up. "Captain, what if we encounter enemy ships? We're in no condition for more fighting." "We avoid engagement at all costs," Reed replied. "We run, we hide, we survive. We've played our part in this war. Now we go home." The crew nodded in agreement. They had all signed up for dangerous missions, but now they yearned for home. "Stations, everyone," Reed ordered. "Let's bring this ship home." 2 weeks into their journey, the Nemesis encountered its first major obstacle. While passing through an asteroid field to mask their signature, sensors detected a Nova patrol ahead and a Crimson battle group behind. "We're trapped between them," Emma reported tensely. Reed studied the tactical display. "Options. We don't have enough power to outrun either group," Stone said. "And our weapons can't handle a direct confrontation." Reed thought for a moment, then pointed to a dense section of the asteroid field. "There. Take us in as deep as you can." "Sir, navigating through there will be extremely dangerous," Emma warned. "More dangerous than 2 enemy fleets." "Do it, Lieutenant." The Nemesis turned and plunged deeper into the asteroid field. Massive rocks tumbled around them as Emma carefully guided the ship through the maze. "Crimson ships are following us in," the sensor officer reported. "Nova vessels are approaching from the other side." Reed's eyes narrowed. "They're determined to finish us." "Captain," Alex Foster called from communications, "I'm picking up a strange signal. It's on an Earth Defense Force frequency." "What?" "Put it through." A woman's voice came through the speakers. "Attention, Nemesis. This is Commander Grace Taylor of the Earth vessel Sentinel. If you can hear us, respond on this frequency." Reed could hardly believe what he was hearing. "This is Captain Reed of the Nemesis. We read you, Sentinel, but be advised, we're currently trapped between enemy forces." "We see them, Captain. Hold your position. Help is on the way." Moments later, the Sentinel burst into the system, weapons blazing. The Earth ship was smaller than the Nemesis, but newer and fully armed. "All Crimson and Nova vessels, this is Commander Taylor of Earth Defense Force. The vessel you are pursuing is under our protection. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Crimson commander's voice responded angrily. "That ship has committed acts of war against the Crimson Empire. It will be destroyed." "That ship," Taylor replied calmly, "is a recognized vessel of the Earth Fleet, and you are currently in disputed space. The Earth Defense Force has deployed 3 battle groups to this sector. Withdraw now, or we will consider your actions a direct attack on Earth." There was a long pause. Then, slowly, the Crimson ships began to turn away. The Nova vessels did the same. "Captain Reed," Taylor's voice came again, warmer now. "General Cooper sends his regards. You and your crew have been officially listed as heroes of Earth. Let's get you home." 2 weeks later, the Nemesis approached Earth orbit. Through the viewports, the crew could see the blue planet growing larger. Reed stood on the bridge, Emma beside him. "We made it," she said softly. Reed nodded. "Against all odds." As the Nemesis entered orbit, they could see ships gathering to escort them in, an honor guard for the vessel that had saved humanity from invasion. "Captain," Alex called out. "Message from Earth Command." The main screen showed General Cooper. "Captain Reed, on behalf of all humanity, welcome home. Your actions have given Earth the breathing room it needed. The Crimson and Nova empires are fully engaged with each other and have withdrawn from our space entirely." Reed saluted. "Just doing our duty, General." "Well, your duty has changed history, Captain. Report to headquarters when you land. There's much to discuss about the future." As the Nemesis descended toward Earth, Reed took one last look at his ship and crew. One vessel against two vast empires. They had brought chaos to the enemy and peace to Earth. And somehow, against all odds, they had found their way home. The human warship that changed the course of history had completed its most important mission of all, bringing its crew back alive.